Okay, so welcome back, guys. Like you all know, it's all about history right on this channel, and today is another day to talk about Captains Thomas Noel Sankara of Burkina Faso and Colonel Muammar Gaddafi of Libya in the 1980s. These people are great men in the development of Africa as a continent as a whole, and they were both assassinated for the love of Africa and putting people's interest first. Thomas Sankara was assassinated in a coup plot orchestrated by France on October 15, 1987, which was in connivance with his friend Blaise Compaoré, former president of Burkina Faso. Likewise, Muammar Gaddafi was also assassinated during the Libya civil orchestrated by the United States of America and some other NATO member countries on the 20th of October 2011. The death of Gaddafi, the assassination of Gaddafi, there is more to it than meets the eye. And apart from Gaddafi, here are reasons why Sankara, Thomas Noel Sankara of Burkina Faso was assassinated, which is one of them is that he rejected the idea of foreign hate, saying that he who feeds you controls you, which is what is not acceptable to the West. They feel it as an insult to them. And in the 1987 OAU summit, he gave speech on debt African countries owe the West and its effects on us. Yeah, it is quite okay to say that the West have been controlling Africa with debt under the guise of foreign aid, which in turn makes us like still under the chains of colonialism to the West, of which Sankara is not a party to. And one of the other reasons is that he accuses the West of double standard that militates against Africa's growth with debt. These are many more part of the attack on Thomas Sankara that claimed his life, and also Thomas Sankara during a speech delivered at the defunct OAU, which is the Organization of African Union, now known as African Union, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia in 1987 on Africa's debt crisis. He went ahead to predict his own assassination. He told Africans to stop buying weapons so we can concentrate on our own development. But alas, Africans are too dumb to see beyond the future and eat to Sankara's money. And then we happen to be the architect of our own misfortune in Thomas Sankara's words, and part of what leads to his assassination. And Thomas Sankara also told Africa to stop importing what they can produce. There are a lot of mineral resources, there are a lot of rich soils in Africa. It is a very vast continent with more than 54 countries or 54 countries that can produce equally whatever has been produced from the West. But Africans are just being delusional about the mentality of having foreign stuffs from the West. And then Thomas Sankara in his words said Africa should stop importing what they can produce, saying there is no single trade on me from Europe or Africa or America. As at the point in time Thomas Sankara was saying this, all his clothes from A to Z, everything was being manufactured from either Burkina Faso or neighboring shores of Africa, which he said it is better to patronize Africa and develop Africa rather than going all out to patronize the West, which the West sees it being has been disgusting to them. The moving speech, which he delivered without a script, had an effect that the text was published in Paris, France, and in February 1989 in the magazine Combat. He was assassinated 3 months later in a coup plot orchestrated by France on the October 15th, 1987. The impact of France can still be seen in Burkina Faso to date and the neighboring countries with Mali, and as of recent, Burkina Faso has been under the leadership of the youngest ruler in the world now, which is a military captain under military rule now, and trying to drive the French imperialists out of Burkina Faso. But then there's still more to be done than driving out. And apart from that, we have to talk reason why Gaddafi was assassinated. Gaddafi has been a Pan-Africanist from day one. He was a president and the paramount ruler of Libya during his time before he was assassinated. But during the time of Gaddafi, Gaddafi nationalized Libyan oil, that Libyan oil belongs to Libya no matter what. Libyan oil would not leave the shores of Libya to any Western countries, which the West sees it as a threat because Africa is very rich. Gaddafi, one of the reasons Gaddafi was assassinated was that he insisted that our sovereign African countries work to achieve United States of Africa. Having the continent of Africa come together to form one single entity, just like we have the United States of America and all of that, like just the unity of Africa is has been one of the issues Gaddafi was fighting for during his lifetime. But the West sees it as a threat. They see it as a threat, so it is part of the things that cut Gaddafi's life short. And it suggested a single military force, a single currency, a single passport for Africans to move freely around Africa. Instead of having an international passport that guards the entrance, the movement of Africans across different countries and across the world, having one single passport that shows you're an African, you're free to move anywhere, just one single currency, just like the Americans have the US dollars and what have you, the euro, the British pounds, and the likes. Gaddafi was also working towards one single currency for Africa, but the West sees it as a threat that it will reduce their trade. So therefore, because Africans having one single currency will make Africa much more powerful, which is what they are not ready to see happen yet. He lambasted the United Nations UN Security Council during a summit in 2009, which he also accused the UN of being biased. These are many more a part of the things that caused Gaddafi's life short, as well as Thomas Sankara. And I know that again, it denounced the UN permanent setup of security country, which it says encourages the immoral treatment of Africa. So Gaddafi has always been a mouthpiece for African leadership right from his days in the office, and Gaddafi has lots and lots of accolades attached to him, even though the media made it to seem that Gaddafi was a terrorist because Gaddafi was assassinated during the tenure of the erstwhile president of the United States, Barack Obama.